Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television talk show and radio show. Yeah, we're adding something else to you beginning this week on Saturdays at 9 a.m. Classic Country, and that is WZLA 92.9 FM. So they're carrying the show as well. You can still find us syndicated on television. That's Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. You may also find us on all the social media sites there as well. Let's go ahead and get started. I've got Julia Christine with me right now. She has her own podcast, and man, I'm always so excited to get to talk to you. It's only been a month, but it feels like it's been 6 months since we've talked.
I know. It's crazy. Yeah.
Continue sending emails. We got your emails that you wanted directed to Julia as well. And that's Donna at donnasedge.com. You are not bothering me one little bit. You continue sending those. Donna at donnasedge.com. Julia, how are you doing? How was your weekend?
Oh my gosh, so good. I'm doing really, really well. I've had an amazing month. I had a birthday and my family and friends turned out, and it's just awesome to be so reminded about the love in my life. Literally, that's what most people who came to my party talked about weeks afterwards. They're still talking about oh my gosh, you are so surrounded by love. And it's so true. And that's only because I love them. You know what I mean? It's been amazing. So it's been an amazing month for me. How about you?
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
It was our wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
Yeah, September the 4th, actually. I always remember September the 4th. It's the year I kick out on.
That's my birthday.
Oh, is it? We always know that. Wow, I knew we had some other connector. Our wedding anniversary, we chose that date for you. Or no, maybe you were born after that.
I don't think so.
we were married in 1993.
Yeah, that's the year I graduated high school, so we're good.
You look very young.
Thank you.
So somehow we just knew the cosmos and all this thing was going to happen. So we decided to get married on September the 4th.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great.
A really funny thing happened about that. Okay, so I was working with GTE under corporate. I handled the government and corporate accounts during that time. Well, we're all talking about the wedding and all this, the fun stuff and everything. And so everybody's going to come, everybody I work with. Well, I get there and only my boss was there. So I'm like, I wonder why he's the only one who showed up. And so after the wedding, we were gone a week, come back, and everybody was like, are you okay? Asking me if I'm okay. And I'm like, sure, why wouldn't I be? And they were like, well, the wedding. And I said, what are you talking about? They said, we came and you weren't there. We thought the wedding had been called off. And so what? And I said, no, we were there. Ed was there. My boss was there. And she said, he was there. And I said, yeah, he watched us get married. And then I said, Ed. So Ed comes out and I said, you were at the wedding, right? And he said, yeah, where were you all at? And they said, we went to the Woodland Park. And I'm like, the Woodland Park? I said, we got married at Woodland Park Baptist Church. I said, didn't you guys think it a little odd? And they said, no, because we know you love baseball. So we thought you were just getting married. That's
hilarious.
Because I said, you know what? I was a little hurt at you guys for not showing up when you'd been talking about. So see, there was a miscommunication there. Something happened. Who knows? And my boss could have told everybody, but he didn't think about it. He was too busy with his job. So, sometimes little things can be misunderstood.
But that's the thing. It goes to show that even though that was hurtful for you and you created whatever stories about why they didn't show up to your wedding and things like that, it had nothing to do with you. It was them reading your invitation backwards.
Well, and it was on the invitation, Woodland Park Baptist Church. They only read part of it. They didn't see they thought it was a part. But no, it didn't hurt my feelings because we were having fun on the honeymoon. Right. So, I didn't care. But now, had it been a month later, I would have probably been, wait a minute, nobody showed up for my, what's going on there? So sometimes things are just misunderstandings that are just nothing.
Right.
And you talk about that a lot on your podcast.
I do. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because we create stories. It's what we do. Every single one of us. Something happens. Somebody doesn't return our call. We haven't heard from somebody in a long time. And then all of a sudden it's like, what did I do? And then we get defensive. Well, I didn't do anything wrong. What's wrong with them? And we create these big stories and like, they must be mad at me. And I don't know why they'd be mad at me. And so I'm going to defend myself and be mad at them. And in reality, they dropped their phone in the toilet and haven't been able to call anybody for the last 4 days, or, you know what I mean? And like, you have no idea what's going on. And so instead of nightmaring into this crazy thing, take a breath and remind yourself that like, really, it has nothing to do with you. And the same thing is true if somebody barks at you and like somebody like takes out their anger on you, like, whoa, does that have anything to do with me? No. So I'm going to let her finish or him finish and then be like, does that have anything to do with me? Like, what's really going on? Or just let it be for a while until they calm down and likely they'll apologize or whatever. So like so much, I would say 98 to 99% of everything that happens involving someone else has nothing to do with us and everything to do with them. Mm-hmm. So watch yourself creating those stories. What was that?
In the 1970s, I was going to school. And so we had a teacher who was just barking everybody's heads off. You know, I mean, he was just not happy whatsoever. And we all knew that what did all of us do at the same time? This is back before social media and all that stuff. See, so we were scratching our heads like, what's up with him? Because normally he's very charming and a lot of fun to be around. We just hang out with him. You know, he was one of those kinds of teachers. Well, what we didn't know, and this was like an embarrassing time, he was getting a divorce. His wife left him for somebody else. So we didn't all know that. And we didn't have social media gossiping on him saying they're
right. So, and does that make his behavior okay? No, but also now you know it's not about you. And like it never is the thing. It never is. And so just pull yourself back and be like, what is really going on? Is that true? Am I misbehaving? No. Okay, cool. Then this has nothing to do with me. I'm going to let them figure out what they need to figure out.
Well, sometimes I think I'm living a Jerry Seinfeld show sometimes. And because one time, now this is back before I knew that when you sent a text in caps, it meant you were yelling.
Yeah, absolutely. Why are you yelling at me? Mm-hmm.
So I sent it to one of my friends and she didn't respond right back, but I was busy anyway. So I thought, well, I'll catch up with her later. And then she sends me one back. What are you mad about? And a bunch of exclamation marks. And I'm like, what the heck she's talking about? And I said, send her one back. What are you talking about? And she goes, you're yelling at me. And I'm like, how can I be yelling at this? It's a text. So you're from the South like me. So, you know, sometimes we get things wrong in the South. And so,
come on. Everybody everywhere gets things wrong, Donna. Don't do that.
Yeah, I'll not pick on us. And so I sent her one back. I don't know what you're talking about. And she said, you responded in all caps.
All caps.
And I'm like, so? And then she, you do realize when you do that, you're yelling. And so I didn't know that. So, you know, so anyway, so that was misunderstanding. I caused it. I didn't mean to. But anyway, it's sometimes things. Isn't it best when somebody, if they can be reasoned with, when someone has a disagreement with you, you just go on ahead and just say, I mean, how would you respond? Do you just say, is there something I don't know about I did to you? Or how would you respond to that?
Well, it depends on what it is that like is happening. But I use this example a lot. It's because it's a personal example of when I started trying to realize that things weren't about me. Mm-hmm. I was with a friend and she was really angry and she started yelling at me and accusing me of all of this crazy stuff. And I was just like, first of all, we were on vacation together. And so like, we're having a good time. Where is this coming from? What is this even about? And so I took a deep breath because I'm the kind of person when somebody raises their voice with me or when there's I cry. I am a crier. Like it's if I get angry, like I used to be at work stressed out and I would just start crying. And it's like, it's my reaction is to cry. So I felt myself starting to cry and I was like, hold up. What's actually happening? And in my mind, I was still listening to her, but I took some deep breaths. Everything, everywhere always starts with deep breaths. When you take a couple of deep breaths, you find like a neutral space. It just automatically happens and calms your nervous system down. It's actually scientific. It's not me being all woo-woo. It literally is scientific. You take a couple of deep breaths. It calms your neurosystem down. And what I did was I said, is what she's saying true? And I realized none of what was coming out of her mouth was true, even though she had all of these reasons to be upset with me. And I was like, well, that's not true. And that's not true. And that's not true. And I was like, okay. And instead of being like, that's not true, because then that's just going to feed the argument, because I had taken those deep breaths and decided not to react, I wanted to respond and kind of neutralize the situation. I realized if it's not true, then it's not about me. It's a story she's telling herself, just like we just talked about this. We create stories. That doesn't just mean I'm the only one creating the story. She's creating this story in her mind. She's just gotten it wrong, because instead of talking to me about it, she has made assumptions. And so like, all right, that's not true. That's not true. Okay, so this isn't even about me. And so I stood there and let her continue going, because it was like, this isn't about me. I don't have to take this on, because it's not about me. I don't have to react. Has nothing to do with me. It's her story. So I let her keep going, and I continued to ask myself, is this true? And then there was something that she said that was true. And I've said this in the past months that we've talked. And I was like, okay, cool. That is true. Do I want to change that? And the answer was no. I had made a shift in how I held myself and how I reacted and responded, just like I was in that moment. I had made a change that I enjoyed, and I don't want to go back to what she was used to. Do you know what I mean? And so I was like, am I willing to change that? The answer is no. So then that means it's not about me. That's her problem with the boundaries that I've put in place, not about me. And so I stood there and let her continue, because it wasn't about me. And then she said something that I was like, hold up, that is true. And there is something that I'm willing to do about that. And so I interrupted her and I said, you know what? My darling friend, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Here's what I'm going to do. Kind of like, here's what I'm willing to do so that this makes you feel better. I'm going to reach out more. I am going to make sure that I'm more available for you in this capacity. And so what I did was I stopped her rant. I told her, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'm not yelling. I'm talking. Thank you. Which is literally saying, I love you. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Here's what I'm going to do to rectify it. What is she going to say to that? I just told her she was right, which is what every single one of us loves to hear. I just told her basically that I was sorry, even though you'll notice I didn't apologize. I took responsibility for what I felt responsible for, and that I was willing to change for her. And I did. And she couldn't argue with me. She couldn't yell at me anymore. Just in that moment, I changed the entire environment, the entire atmosphere of what was going on. And then we were able to move forward. And the thing I would say is that we are so accustomed to just hearing what people shout at us, tell us, and taking it in, knowing that it's true, taking it on. And I had created a pattern with this person in particular of always taking responsibility for our issues. Our issues is two people. I can't take responsibility for all of it. And I had made that a habit. I was changing that habit, and that was what was problematic. And so that is where I was able to diffuse the situation by only taking on what I was comfortable taking on. But she couldn't argue with me about the other stuff. In fact, once it was out of her mouth, it was over. Mm-hmm. And it was over because I didn't continue it going by saying, that's not true, and making it a thing. And now we're arguing about the truth of something that is a story in her mind, which is why it's true for her, even though she has no idea what she's talking about. So
we have to grow and change. And I know that the 32 years Phil and I have been married, I mean, I've grown and changed in some ways, and he has too, but it's been for the best. It's been for the benefit for both of them. Sometimes we're afraid of change because we get into this, it's cozy in this little box.
Yeah, we get comfortable.
Me in this box. But sometimes we have to get outside of the box so we can grow.
What's crazy is that we get so comfortable that we're uncomfortable with our comfort, but because it's safe and feels like I know this discomfort, I'm going to stay in this discomfort. I'm miserable at work. This is me speaking my truth. I was miserable at work, but it's what I knew. And so it was safe because it was misery that I was familiar with, that I was comfortable with. But ultimately, did I love my life? No, not even a little bit. but I'd allowed the habit of like, okay, this is my life. This is what I love. This is fake plastic smile. You know what I mean? And then it makes it okay. And that's because the unknown feels hard. The unknown is covered in fear. But I want you to notice something. Tell me whether or not this is true. You've been told your whole life that change is hard. Says who? Says all of those people who have always bought into the idea that change is hard. Change is wonderful when it's right, when it's what you want, when you're being true to yourself and living your life. Change is the best thing in the world. I like to consider it like, you've heard me talk about hard. We use that word for everything. But I want you to start considering when you say something is hard, stop yourself and say like, is it or is it new? And that makes it uncomfortable. Is it or am I afraid of it? Why am I afraid of it? Probably because it's new, because it's different, because you've never tried that before. And then it's a matter of like, okay, what's on the other side of this fear? It might be freedom. It might be joy. And it might be the best decision you've ever made. It's not hard. It's new. And now you have a different perspective to approach it from. But when we come against something that we have decided is hard, we don't do it. Mm-hmm. And so when you say change is hard, we don't do it. So I want to release everybody listening from the idea that change is bad, that change is hard, that hard even exists. It doesn't exist.
You know, I'm an avid cook. I love to cook. I want you to come to South Carolina and let me cook you a meal. You'll never want to go back to New York.
I would love that. Oh my gosh. I'm a vegetarian though, so no bacon in those turnip greens.
You can stay with us. No, you would love my food. So let me take what I did. So I've been cooking since forever. And so we would actually get off the school bus at my grandmother's house. And that's how I learned a lot of my cooking skills. Because she was just, the cook. Everybody, they would always say, you need to open up a restaurant. And she'd say, no, it's not cooking my family. That's all. So this happened to me. So my grandmother did not want you to waste anything, nothing. Well, I accidentally put milk. I was going to make some pie. And so I put this milk in the microwave, and I didn't really need to put it in the microwave. I meant to put something else in the microwave, like the water. So to go in something else. So I thought, oh my God, if I throw away this cup of milk, my grandmother's just going to go nuts. So I thought, well, I'm going to go on ahead and fix this pie anyway, like this. I put the cornstarch and the sugar and all that stuff that you put in there. And I went on ahead and put the boiling milk into the pan. Best pie I ever made. You want to know why? I didn't scorch it. Because if you're not careful, when you put cold milk, you've got to sit over it, not be on the phone with your boyfriend and stuff like that. You've really got to be paying attention. So I did not scorch the pie. And so my grandmother said, that is the best pie. She said, so what did you learn from me? And I said, well, I made a mistake, and I know how you are about not wasting stuff. And I said, so I just went on ahead and put the hot milk into the pie. And I didn't think my grandmother could be taught anything because she knew. And I'm not being facetious. She literally could have written cookbooks. She should have. That would have been her calling. And she said, I learned something from you today. She said, I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah.
And so by my mistake, I actually earned some points with my grandmother because she actually learned something from me.
That's amazing.
Well, what if I just thrown the milk away and try to hide it? What if I had done that? Then neither one of us would have learned anything new.
Exactly. And I think that's where we have this preconceived idea that we have to do everything right, that there is a right way of doing everything. And that's just BS. I'm sorry. That is not true. And if you can release yourself from always doing something right, you're going to have, first of all, you're going to have a much more free life. You're going to be able to live without those constraints of it has to be perfect. It has to be right. And instead, come into the idea that mistakes. Do you really think that the things, all the things that we know about life came because we just know about them? I would say that a huge percentage of the things that we know today come from other people's mistakes. Even talking about baking and making a custard, you have to temper the eggs. You can't put cold eggs in boiling milk. You're going to cook them. They're going to turn into scrambled eggs in your custard. Ew. No,
I've done that before.
You got to temper that. But somebody did that. Somebody learned that the hard way and taught us, hey, instead of doing that, add some hot milk to your eggs first and then put it all in together. And now we know, and now we don't have scrambled eggs for custard. And literally, somebody made that mistake and learned from it. And now we know. And so don't look at your mistakes as mistakes. Seriously, no, it's not. We take it all so hard and we take it all so serious. No, allow yourself to be and to breathe and to exist in this world of gray, that it is not about black and white. It is about both. And if that makes gray, then fine. You know what I mean? It is not about right or wrong. It's about both. And you are going to have a much more ease-filled life if you allow yourself to live in the idea that there are no absolutes. It is not right or wrong. It is not black or white. It is both. There are no absolutes.
You find something in common with someone. Okay, so there's a guy, he's an older guy. We differ on political beliefs. I mean, it's total different. But I'm going to tell you what, this guy is my go-to guy for gardening.
Right, we've talked about him before, yeah.
Oh, God, he's amazing. I mean, it's just the things he can do with one seed. So we were outside, and he said, "Do you think that's a weed?" It was a dandelion. And I said, "Well, yeah." And he said, "That's not a weed." He said, "There's so much nourishment from that dandelion. You dandelion tea you can make from that. Just all these things he was telling me about."
Dandelion is amazing for your digestive system. If you have a dodgy digestive system, start taking dandelion, literally.
Amazing. This guy has probably saved my life. I mean, just on things I consume, things we eat. The things that are considered a weed are not a weed. And this is another thing one of my other grandmothers would say. She would say, "You know what a weed is?" And I would say, she would point out something, and she loved gardening, and she would say, "Do you call that a weed?" And I would say, "Yes, ma'am." And she'd say, "Even though it's got a pretty bloom on it, you still call it a weed?" And I said, "Well, yes, ma'am, you mow it down with a lawnmower, but my dad always mows it down." And she said, "But it's a flower that just hasn't been named yet."
Or it's something growing where you didn't expect it to. It's not what you thought was going to happen. It's not what you wanted to happen. It's still beautiful. It's still nourishing. It's going to actually be what you need, but it's not the way you thought it was going to be. And so it's got to be wrong.
Do you know that I have found St. John's wort here on this property? It looks like an overgrown mess. And so we were about to just whack everything down, start all over again. And I said, "No, wait, there's something about that plant. I recognize it from class. There's something about that Auburn University War Eagle." So anyway, about that. Phil's an Alabama fan. Okay, so, Auburn against.
I know.
So anyway, I said, no, don't cut it down. And so I have this app on my phone, and it's a plant app. And what you can do is you take a picture of it, and it tells you what it is. And I said, "There's something special about it." I remember from class. I just don't remember what it was. So I took a picture, and it shows it's St. John's wort. Do you know how life-saving that plant is? I mean, it's tremendous. You can buy vitamins with that in it. So anyway, I'm so glad we did that. I'm glad we did a little research, and I'm glad we didn't just go whack it down just because we thought it was a weed.
Yep.
And that's what we do sometimes with people. We whack them down because we don't understand.
It's not just people. We do that out of our own lives. Like I said, it might be unexpected. It might not be what you want there, but it doesn't mean that it's not good for you. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. We get an idea that if something is not the way we want it or not the way we expect it, that it's got to be eviscerated from our lives. And in actuality, if you take a step back and actually look at what it is, take the 2 minutes it took for you to research that, to look at what it is, you might find that it's something that is actually going to be really important for your life. Whether we're talking about weeds or if we're talking about people or we're talking about growth for you, what if you get this, what if somebody sends you an email out of the blue and it wasn't even intended for you, but because you took a minute to be like, wait, what is this? All of a sudden you have an amazing new opportunity in your life. Or you've met someone who you never would have met if they hadn't accidentally called you Do you know what I mean? Like there are massive things that are mistakes, that are wrong, that are not what we expected, that come into our existence for a purpose. And I struggle to say that because I'm not one of those people that believes everything happens for a reason. I believe everything happens. It's what we do from there that is the reason, that we make the reason, that we are in control of. Everything happens. What do you do after that?
How many times have you been, you jump in your car and you say, I'm going to go to ABC grocery store. And somehow something happens in traffic, and you have to take a detour, and you really had your mind set on going to ABC grocery store, but inside you go to XYZ grocery store, and you meet someone phenomenal. Had you not taken that detour, you wouldn't have. I have met so many guests that way for the show.
I want to point something out, though, in that, and that is because you are open once you get to XYZ store, even though you wanted to be at ABC store. And if you were so focused on, gosh darn it, I wanted to be at ABC store, this is not the store I wanted to be, you are so blinded to the experience of being at XYZ because you're so focused on the fact that it didn't go the way you thought it was going to go. It didn't go the right way. Allow yourself to experience the wrong way. Allow yourself to experience the XYZ store, and those people will come into your life. But we get so focused on complaining about what didn't go right that we miss the opportunity of what went wrong.
I have been in, and you've been to Mentone, Alabama. There are so many artists who live there. I mean, it's incredible. If you've ever watched them work, let's say a painting, for instance, when you're watching them with their art, their mind just goes into a painting, and you think it's a finished product. And it's like, oh man, that is gorgeous. And then they get the paintbrush out and they start doing it, and you're thinking, no, don't mess it up. It's perfect like that. And you think you're trying to tell them, and they know from their head what to do. What if they had listened to you? So then they get the paintbrush, and it's like, I didn't think it would be more perfect than what it was. Now, 30 minutes later, it's breathtaking.
I want to point something out to you. And what's funny is this whole time I've been like, I need to talk about perfect. I need to talk about perfect. You know, I'm a word person. And so the fact that you're bringing up this perfect and that painting looked perfect to you,
to me at that time,
person, that artist was like, no. And even once they added whatever it was to it and they thought, all right, well, this is it. To them, I would put money on it that it still wasn't perfect. And you are just like, oh my gosh, it's a masterpiece. Because here's the thing. The actual definition, like if you go into etymology and the definition of words and where words come from, which I love words, so I do this all the time. My friend and I found the etymology of perfect. And what perfect actually means is to continue to strive for better, to continue to strive for more. I would put money on it that Michelangelo never thought the Sistine Chapel was finished, that it wasn't perfect. But we look at it in awe, thinking of this absolute amazing artist. Look at Van Gogh and the amazing work he's done. He never thought it was good enough, ever. And so, like, literally, you're already perfect because you continue to strive for better. You continue to strive to be your best. You're already perfect. Stop searching for perfect because it's already there, just because you're continuing to want more for yourself. And so, like, literally, there's no such thing as like, and everybody else is watching you going, oh my God, you're brilliant at this. You are perfect. You, Donna, are an amazing cook. But I bet every time you make a meal, you think, I could have added more salt. I could have done this.
I do. The guest will say,
every person is like, this is the best thing I've ever eaten in my life.
I've had people say, open up a restaurant. You've got to do that. And
I'm
going, over what?
Exactly.
That is the best cake I have ever tasted in my life. And I'm like, you know what my first response is? I could have added a little more cocoa.
Right. Or like the frosting isn't smooth enough, or this isn't this enough. But that's because we are already perfect, looking for that perfection. But to the rest of the world, it's perfect. And so that's where I want you to, again, this is the theme of today. Pull back a second and remember, it's already perfect. And can you strive for better? Yes. You want to know why? Because you're perfect.
I never thought about it that way.
Because it's true. It literally is the definition of perfect. But we have, as we do with all words, just like hard, we make it into something it's not. We have kind of like the word crazy. Do you want to know where the word crazy comes from? When you are like, when you a potter builds throws a pot and puts it in the kiln, and then they put stuff on it, and if it gets overheated, it does this thing called crazing. It crazes. It's little tiny cracks, and those little tiny cracks in the pot, you want to know what they do? They open up space for more. That's what crazy means. It means you're interested in more than what is obvious. It means that there is more within you to hold because it is expanded, that your mind is expanded. But when I say something's crazy, that's not what you think. When I say someone is crazy, you don't think I'm talking about how amazingly open their mind is. But we have changed the definition of that word, and we do that. So when you go back, when you are so stuck on a word like perfect, because I was the best perfectionist there was, and everything had to be right, and everything had to be perfect, and I was held on to that so tight that my friend and I were like, hold up, let's look at this word. And when I realized that the definition of the word told me that I already was what I was so belligerently striving for, I could release it and realize, like, hold up, I'm looking at this all wrong. I can actually love myself because I'm already perfect. And I can still want more for myself because that is what makes me perfect. I can realize that this thing isn't hard, that I can approach it with ease, which is actually the definition of easy. It doesn't mean simple. It means something approached with ease. And all of a sudden, it's not hard anymore. We have control of everything in our lives. How we look at things, how we think, within our control. How we think about the words we use, within our control. When you are holding on to tight to something, seriously, take a breath, step back, and look at what that actually is, and your world will explode. Everything becomes easier. Everything becomes lighter. It makes it so much easier to move forward. Not simple.
That's what we have to do. Right. We've got to go into a commercial break, speaking of which. We'll be right back.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring. But the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Good afternoon. We are back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Television Talk Show. You can find us on television. Amazing how you can find us. Abundant Television found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. Now you can find us on the radio. It's a classic country. It's all the old classic hits they have on there. It's 92.9. They're located at WZLA. You can find them also online on the World Wide Web. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and continue finding us on social media. A lot of you still watch us on Facebook. Any way I can have you in my life, I'm proud of it. I really am. Julia Christine is with us right now. Julia, I've got another question for you. Okay, so I turned 66 years old in June, and I'm proud of it. I can't believe I'm still alive, actually. According to my parents, I should have been dead like 40 years ago.
No.
But anyway, I made it somehow. Great partner in Philip. I mean, just all those things. Wonderful son, wonderful daughter in love. And so absolutely love her. Little Russian girl. By the way, Brad had pneumonia. We're not sure what kind of string of pneumonia it was. That's my son. And so Larissa, I didn't know you could catch pneumonia. I thought you just had pneumonia. But anyway, she wound up with pneumonia as well. So Brad said, you know something? Larissa, I'm pretty sure, is saying dirty words to me in Russian. Yeah, she's from Russia. So I said,
Good for her.
Probably is. Because you made her sick.
Right.
Anyway, it's all in the interpretation of it. And he interpreted it to be like not a really nice verbal exchange of words there. But anyway, I'm talking about age, people getting older. And I guess I don't look at it as being older. People I went to school with, I'm seeing it's almost like they've just given up on life. It's just, they're walking all bent over. They're just ready to go into the nursing home or whatever. And I just can't see it. One of my best mentors is my Aunt Elizabeth, and she will be 103 years old this year. Still lives by herself. Flirts with my husband all the time. That's probably the one she stays so. and just an amazing lady. And so she was on the show one day. She's a guest, and by the way, she's a ham too. Boy, she loves being on the show. And so I said, well, you are so bright, and you have a wonderful memory. I mean, I said, your memory is actually better than most 20-year-olds I've met. Well, certainly better than mine. And she said, well, I read every day. I read my Bible. And she said, I also read romance novels. And then she said, it keeps ringing on. And then she said, but I think people need to read. She said, people don't want to read anymore. And she said, just because you're older doesn't mean you can't learn things. I totally agree with that, because I'm learning every single day. Okay, even though I take this class on herbs and on medicine, on plants, whatever, I'm still learning every single day because I want to.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. And I'm ready to plant something. I'm already looking forward to next summer. I'm planting the garden.
You're so funny. So here's the thing.
Late summer, get here. So, but it's all about learning.
It is about learning, but there's some things that I want to put some things into perspective. And if you think about it and release the things that you know, and just hear me out, okay? We have been told that when you turn a certain age, it equals this. It equals when you turn this age, you're going to start, your back's going to start to hurt. You're going to start to lose your eyesight. You're going to start to feel achy. You're going to hate the winters. You're going to this, you're going to that. And let's just for a moment. I told you I had a birthday this month. I turned 50. I want you to know that the women on Golden Girls, when Golden Girls first came out, they were in their 50s. I don't look like the Golden Girls. I don't look like the Golden Girls. I don't behave like the Golden Girls. I don't move like the Golden Girls, and I never will. And here's the thing. We've been told, we've been trained our whole lives that old is this. And I want you to challenge that. I want you to look at it and say, that's not my life. That might be true for you, But that's not true for me. This is what 50 looks like. This is how 50 behaves. This is the yoga that 50 does every day. This is the 10 miles every day that 50 walks. Like, no, that's not me. I just said before the break, we have control of everything in our lives. We don't have to buy into the idea that we are going to have these ailments, that when you turn 60, your life is over, that when you turn 80, you can't drive anymore. Now, that's not going to say that you're not going to have eyesight issues, that things aren't going to start aching, that things aren't going to all of these things. But we don't have to believe that that is our truth. We don't have to believe that that is for us forever. Don't think I don't wake up sometime and my back hurts. But then I realize, oh, I slept wrong, or this happened, and now I can make this adjustment. We can move forward and da-da-da. If I wear an uncomfortable pair of shoes, which I did for my party several nights in a row, the next week, my feet were a little puffy. My feet were a little swollen. They needed a little TLC, but they're fine now because I've taken the action, because I'm not buying into the fact that, oh, because I'm 50, this equals this. You see this everywhere. I'm around people all the time who are sick and never get sick. Like, it's literally not about what are you allowing? Oh, I went out in the cold, I'm going to get sick. You're right. If you believe that that's what's going to happen to you, you are absolutely right. And so there's a level of, I am not saying that if you are currently experiencing like this stooped over feeling, that it's not because you're trying to save your back, because when you stand up straight, your back hurts. I'm not going to deny that for you. I'm not saying your pain isn't real. I'm saying go to your doctor, and instead of just getting on a medication, talk to them about the exercises you can do to strengthen your lower back so that you can pull yourself back and stand up straight. And if you're younger than that, start standing up straight now. Catch yourself like this in your phone. Catch yourself like this on the couch and start standing up straight. And then when you're 60 and 70 and 80, you won't be stooped. You can do that now. We live in a society that tells us that it is supposed to be a certain way. Call BS on that and live your own life. And we also live in a society that is all about quick fixes. I want information now. Your aunt, is it your aunt who's 103? She remembers everything because she had to. She didn't have a radio telling her what was going on or what happened yesterday or what the weather's going to look like tomorrow. She didn't have a television to tell her all of the things. And she definitely didn't have a 24-hour news network who told you what was going on in every corner of the earth. We don't need to have all that information. And we have so much information at our fingertips that we can't remember what we ate for breakfast.
That is so true.
And so no wonder her memory is amazing, because she had to remember things, and she remembered the things that were important. What's going on in another part of the country isn't necessarily important to you and your life. Is it important to the person that's happening to? Absolutely. But that doesn't have to shift and change your life. And that's not because I have my head in the sand. It's because I'm living my life. And so there's that. The quick fixness of our society. You want to lose weight, start eating things that are healthy and whole. I'm not saying go buy organic. I'm not saying spend all your money on supplements and vitamins. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying read the package. And if you can't pronounce half the things on the package, don't buy it. And like make your own bread. It literally is flour, water, and a little bit of salt. Make your own bread. Look at the ingredients in peanut butter. Can I tell you what peanut butter is, Donna? Just between you and me, it's a secret. Peanut butter is ground up peanuts, but there are 6 or 7 ingredients on the package of a peanut butter can. Mm-hmm. So what are you eating? That's why you're not losing weight. That's why your body feels bloated and gross all of the time. What are you eating? Not are you eating lettuce? What's the crap that you're putting in your body? And then what we do is we go, hey, doctor, I want to lose some weight. And they're like, sure, let me give you this shot. Let me give you this pill. And what are we doing? We're putting more crap in our body. And I'm not going to take away the merits of medicine. And I'm not going to say that people shouldn't be on medication, because I understand. But I am going to say, instead of jumping to, oh, my stomach hurts, I need a pill, what did you eat? Is there a reason why your stomach hurts? like what's going on, instead of I'm sick, I'm going to look it up and see, and all of a sudden I'm convinced I have Crohn's disease. And now not only am I full of anxiety about my Crohn's disease and my future, but that's just going to stress me out more, which is going to make my stomach hurt more, and which makes it worse. So now I have proof that I have Crohn's disease, and I have no idea if any of that's true. When in actuality, I got a little bit of a bug because my husband was sick the night before.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to just, again, pull back. And I'm obviously on a soapbox about this. I'm super passionate about this. But we do this to ourselves. And we buy into this idea that everything has to be known now, that everything has to be understood now, that we have to fix ourselves now. Take a minute. Take a breath. I bet just by sitting on the couch and taking a couple of breaths, you're going to feel better. The tension in your head, the tension in your neck will start to dissipate. Don't jump to the quickest, easiest solution. Allow yourself to look at what your life is actually like. Are you sleeping? And know that there's a difference between sleep and rest. Are you dreaming? Are you imagining the amazing life you could have? Or are you stuck, fixated on the news and all the crap that's going on in this country and that country and how horrible people are being to each other? Is that your focus? Are you really going to put your energy into horribleness? Why? That's not going to make you feel good. You can be aware that people are horrible to one another and also decide not to look at it. Mm-hmm. You can be aware that your dog just went outside and did his business and not watch him do it. You don't have to participate in it. You can be aware. You can acknowledge, is this within my control to change it? No? Cool. I want to keep tabs on that because I'm concerned about what's happening over there because I'm going to need to go pick up that poop. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to watch it. I'm going to go wash my hands and bake a cake. Mm-hmm. And have a great time with my friends and my family and be surrounded by and perpetuate more peace and love. Instead of looking at the crap, because it doesn't feel good. And you are not going to live a life of feeling good physically, mentally, spiritually, if you keep looking at the crap. And we tell ourselves stories, right? So if we're looking at a horrible situation, what are we doing? We're probably saying, what if that happens here? What if that happens to me? I wonder what that feels like. And we put ourselves in that role. And now all of a sudden, because we are an empathetic creature, we start feeling that person's feelings, what they must be going through, all of this stuff. And the next thing we know, we are crying and hating the world. And we have nothing to do with it. Do you know what I mean?
A lot of folks are polarized by, say, political figures.
Right?
When in most cases, the political figure is in the situation. They're in office for their own means, and it has nothing to do with you. Well, I'm just saying. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying most of the time, and I know people in local politics that are that way too.
Yeah.
Some people in politics are self-serving, some are not. Mm-hmm. So, but we have to ask questions of these folks. But I wanted to mention one other thing, too. You talked about breathing and all these wonderful mm-hmm. things. I wanted to tell you a story about Phil, my husband. Okay, so Phil has had some back issues. Moving did not make it easier. It made it rougher. So anyway, he said, well, I'm going to go. He finally breaks in. He says, okay. Because I kept saying, you got to go to the doctor. You got to go to the doctor. That's all I could say. You got to go to the doctor. So finally he said, okay. Flag, I'm going to the doctor. So he goes to the doctor. And so the doctor gives him several scenarios. And one scenario would be surgery. But the scenario he wanted Phil to really think about was the exercise and deep breathing scenario, which if you've got to have surgery, well, then it's going to make it a lot easier on you. If you get out of the surgery, no exercise, no breathing, none of the stuff. Or you can exercise and possibly not even have to have the surgery. Or if you do, again, have the surgery, it's going to make it a lot easier for you. Okay, so the doctor said, now start out slow, because Phil and I we just dive into stuff. We get ambitious, and well, if he says 5, we'll do 50, right? So, well, that doesn't work either. I mean, you can't go came either way. So he said, start out with 5. Well, Phil's saying, that's not enough. And I said, but the doctor said 5. And he said, well, these exercises seem so simple. I mean, they're just like barely moving exercises. And I said, well, he must know something. We need to do what he says. So anyway, of course, now we're doing 20. But anyway, I said, I'll exercise with you because I could use it too. You know, I mean, I don't have any back issues, but I could use the exercise, right? And it's more fun when you got a partner to exercise with anyway.
No,
so
totally.
And even I was going, we're only doing 5, but I didn't tell him at that time.
Good.
So anyway, we did what the doctor said. And then we started moving up, and I let Phil be the one to tell me when we can do more because I'm going, let's do more than 5. So anyway, he goes, I think we're ready for 10. And I said, I do too. I think we can do it. We can do this. We can do 10. We're a little bit sore from doing the 10. And again, these are simple little stretch exercises you would think wouldn't harm you at all. It wouldn't hurt anybody. But they do when you haven't been doing those exercises.
Right.
So now we're up to 20, and now we're laughing with each other going, remember when we just did 5? I mean, so you can grow into something. My granddad had this very, very good analogy. He said, you know, your cow can have a calf. If you'll pick that calf up every single day, once a day, pick the calf up, you'll be able to lift the cow.
That's hilarious. That's fantastic, actually.
I tried that, but I get his analogy. I get what he means, what he meant by that. Because you can't.
Well, and I want to point something out about your story about Phil. The back pain was still there when you were doing 5 too.
Yes.
But as it went up and now you're doing 20, back pain's not there as much, is it? Mm-hmm. And all you had to do were these 5 little exercises, only 5 of them every day for a week, and then you increase to 7, and then you increase to 10, and now once you're up to 20, back pain's gone. Or you could have had the quick fix and had surgery, where there's all kinds of possibilities for a lot of different things to go wrong.
Medication.
And not to mention recovery. So the idea that you don't have to exercise or breathe having had surgery is a load of BS, because afterwards you're going to need to do a lot of breathing to get through all that pain of having undergone surgery, and you're going to need to rehabilitate, which is exercise. Mm-hmm. So don't forget, you can get the quick fix, and there are, I'm so not judging anybody who does. I'm just saying, whoa, let's pull back. Because what if, instead of jumping into the quick fix, what if 5 exercises a day actually does fix this for me? I know from my personal, I've got loads of stories that I could match that with. Mm-hmm. And I don't want you to think that I'm anti-medication or anti-doctor. Go to the doctor, find out what's wrong, please. And then talk about multiple ideas, advocate for yourself. Be in control instead of just the quick fix. The doctor says, I'm going to prescribe to you this XYZ. Ask why. Ask what the benefits are. Ask what what is that called? When it's like this bad stuff could occur. What are those called? That word's escaping my mind. What?
The disclaimer?
Yeah, there's a disclaimer at the end that is
you have a heart attack, you could have a whatever,
Yeah, all of those things. When you how many television commercials do you watch with all of the lists? The lists of things that could go wrong is bigger than the things that you're trying to solve. So there's got to be a different solution. What did people do before this medication? And if I didn't want to take this medication, what would you advise? Mm-hmm. Because it could just be, you need more rest. Remember, there's a difference between sleeping and resting. That's why those watches, they tell you how much actual rest you've gotten. And usually you can sleep for 8 to 10 hours and get maybe 5 hours of actual rest. Mm-hmm. Sit on the couch for 3 minutes and clear your mind. Take some, you're going to breathe whether you focus on it or not. But in order to clear your mind, if you focus, if everybody did this right now and just said to yourself, in this moment, I'm breathing in this moment, I'm breathing out, in this moment, I'm breathing in this moment, I'm breathing out. You say that to yourself. What else were you thinking about? Nothing.
But
now all of a sudden, you are at a neutral space where the chaos and the frenetic things and all of the different thoughts that you're thinking every day are gone, because all you're thinking is, right now I'm breathing in, right now I'm breathing out, right now I'm breathing in, and all of that stuff goes away. And then you can say, okay, what should I do now? And the first thing that pops into your mind is probably the thing you should start with. Don't focus on what you need to do at 8 o'clock. Focus on what you need to do now, because this is a moment. This is a moment. Why are you thinking about tomorrow? Be here now, in this moment. How do you feel right now? That's the way to feel better.
I want to just say this about doctors, because there are some wonderful, wonderful doctors out there. And there are some that are kind of questionable. But now let me tell you, and I know this from listening to my friends. Okay, so I have friends who say, I want to lose weight. I'm going to the doctor about. Well, the doctor will say, eat less, eat a more balanced diet, exercise. And you know what my friends will say? No, give me a pill. It's like they harass the doctor.
Quick fix.
On and on and on and on. So I had one who had the surgery where you get, I forgot what they do, it's this bypass or something surgery. Well, she started to gain the weight back. You know why? Because she didn't change her eating habits.
Right. Absolutely. Because she's still not paying attention. And that's the thing. All these quick fixes. I know people who have been on those shots, and like literally she's somebody who I work with on a regular basis, and she goes on it. It makes her violently ill. And then she goes off of it, and then she goes back on it, and it makes her violently ill. And finally I said, don't you see that, 2 + 2 is equaling 4. Every time you take this, you get sick. So maybe your body is literally telling you, don't take this. Oh, no, that's not it. Okay, cool. And you know what? I also have a friend who had major success with those shots, lost the weight they wanted, got right off of it. Cool. But are they going to gain the weight back? Like your example? Probably, because they didn't change their ideas around food, about what is actually about the stress in their lives, about their lack of sleep, about the things that are actually causing them to gain weight. Gaining weight doesn't necessarily only mean what you eat, and it's not always about eating less. Sometimes it's about eating more. I can tell you, when I was almost 300 pounds, I maybe ate once a day. But I was stressed to the max. I hated my life. I hated my job. I hated myself. And therefore, I just gained and gained and gained and gained and gained. It was my body's defense mechanism to all of the crap that I was putting into it. And I'm not talking about food. So it's not just about what you eat. Yes, it's going to be about what you eat, but also, what is your life like? And that's why I keep talking about taking that. I always say this I say this a lot, let's say, in my podcast, about taking the 50,000 foot view. Literally elevate yourself from your life as if you were the cameraman of the movie of your life, looking through the scope and seeing everything. Everything, not just you, the actor, the person who's living this life, everything, and start to look at what's around you. And I'm not going to lie, this is a little bit of a challenge, because we get so involved and we become accustomed, like we were talking about earlier. Even I'm comfortable with this amount of discomfort, and so I'm going to stay here. I realized when I was starting to really question what was going on in my life outside of food, that I kept saying I loved my job. I'm working my butt off. I'm working 70 to 80 hours a week, but I love my job. But I love my job, but I love my job. And I remember I was actually it was this bookshelf. I don't know why, but I was facing the bookshelf, because I remember looking at those little figures right there and saying to myself, wait, is that true? Or am I just in the habit of saying it? And it was like, oh my gosh. I've said I love my job for 15 years. Is it still true? And so then I'd go to work and I'd be like, I hate this part of my job.
Julia, we're going to have to go, girl. We're going to have to go.
Okay, I'm sorry. But anyway, we get in the habits of loving something, of saying that this is what we want in our lives. Pull back. Ask yourself if that's still true. You are allowed to make it. That's the beauty of a decision, is you're allowed to make another one.
Absolutely it is. Julia, thank you so much for being with us. Time is always too short. We need a 2-hour show. No, 5-hour show. But again, thank you so much for being with us. And
thank you.
Down there, you need to look her up, okay? And listen to what she has to say. Again, thank you so much for being with us. And as always, we love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.